The day that you start living your life according to everybody else's opinion is the beginning of the end. Most of y'all don't actually know your self-worth. You don't know your self-value. So you're like a vulnerable little child. You're shaking, and it's like, everybody loves me this week, so I love me this week. Next week, it drops. So now you're running around insecure and not loving yourself, sad and depressed, based on the feedback, the responses, and the energy that the rest of the world is giving you. Did you allow your self-worth to be based on what other people think of you is the beginning of the end? I love me. So the day that you decide to stop loving me, I'm not gonna love myself any less. I believe in me. If you stop believing in me, I'm not gonna believe in myself any less. If you believe that I'm irrelevant and that I don't mean anything to the world, that no one is checking for me, because you think or believe that about me, it doesn't mean that I'm gonna believe it about myself.
You can protect yourself from negativity. And that's what stops most people, negative thoughts. You can coat your mind from negativity. It's a real simple exercise to do. I do it every morning before I walk out the door. So I walk out as a positive person. You know, I get tired sometimes. That's different from being negative. But to coat your mind from negativity is with one simple thing: gratitude. Gratitude erases negativity. If you wake up in the morning and you start having negative thoughts, man, this ain't my day. I'm tripping, I just don't feel myself. Every time you feel, in the middle of the day, if you feel yourself doing that, stop. Just stop for a second. And start going over in your mind everything you have to be grateful for. Not everything you want, everything you already have. Because what you have is substantial. The fact that you woke up, that's another blessing. The fact that you can see, think, reason, that's another blessing. The fact that you have an opportunity to get it right is another blessing. The fact that you have any measure of health, that's another blessing. And I'm just talking to you, I don't even know you. I could give you 50 things you ought to be grateful for right now. I don't even know you. Start coating your mind with gratitude. It'll change everything for you.
That peace that we're after lies somewhere beyond personality, beyond the perception of others, beyond invention and disguise, even beyond effort itself. Your need for acceptance can make you invisible in this world. Don't let anything stand in the way of the light that shines through this form. Risk being seen in all of your glory. Our eyes are not viewers, they're also projectors that are running a second story over the picture that we see in front of us all the time. Fear is writing that script, and the working title is I'll Never Be Enough. And don't worry if you miss your cue, because there's always doors opening. They keep opening. And when I say life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, I'm just making a conscious choice to perceive challenges as something beneficial so that I can deal with them in the most productive way. You'll come up with your own style. That's part of the fun. Oh, and why not take a chance on faith as well?
You spend your life performing for a crowd, it'll kill you. And you're like, I'm good. I'm not a singer. I don't perform for people. It's gotten much deeper than that now. It's the feeling that we get when we start offering ourselves up in a form that is more impressive to people, but is not authentic to us. Is the mode that we all get tempted to get into when we start trying to bring a version of ourselves to a situation that we think will make a good impression. Sometimes you can really be functioning in a role, but deep down feel like you are not really capable and you are not really worthy of the role. And so when people give you a compliment, you can't even receive it because it feels like they're talking about somebody else. because you know so much about yourself that you explain away your strengths and wallow in your weaknesses. It's called imposter syndrome or fraudulence complex.
The day that you allow the opinions of the outside world to dictate the way you feel about yourself, it is the beginning of the end of you living a blessed and self-loving, secure life. Love yourself. Love yourself. Believe in yourself. Independent of the validation of the world. Have opinions and feelings about yourself, independent of the feedback. Why you gotta have somebody calling you beautiful every day in order for you to feel beautiful? Do you believe that you're beautiful? Or do you only believe you're beautiful when other people say that you're beautiful? I'm just asking. Self-love is the cure to self-hate. If you make it to the end of this video, I want you to write, self-love is the cure to self-hate. These are the type of qualities that I'm going and have been instilling in my daughter. There is no man that you could ever meet, Shayla, that can make you feel more amazing than what you're supposed to feel about yourself. Nobody wants to be alone. But if you show up empty, as an empty shell, and you're expecting this man to fulfill you and fill you up with all of the love that doesn't exist, because as soon as he leaves, you're depleted, you're empty, and you have nothing left for yourself again. Never rely or depend on anybody to fulfill your heart. I love me even if you stop loving me. I'm amazing when you don't think I'm amazing. You can say the nastiest, meanest, evilest shit that you could ever conjure up. It will never change the way I feel about myself. I'm telling you, that's the way I live my life. That's how I feel about me.
It's something in me that says, I need to do this. So that's the first voice. But we've trained ourselves to ignore this voice and listen to the second voice that I believe is a collection of the average society. It's what we learned. It's the practical voice, the should voice. Whenever you say I should do, where are you getting that from? What society says. Well, we forget society's kind of crazy. There's a lot of unhappy people there, a lot of addictions, a lot of stuckness. It's like, why are we using them as the bellwether that we should get our advice from, right? So this first voice goes, I think we should do this. And we go right to this voice that says why we shouldn't. So for instance, there's many people that feel guilty about something. If you actually go to your heart, you can understand at a true level why you could have done something like that. Everyone can. But what causes our pain is trying to get society to understand why we did something. But the collective society isn't at a consciousness where they've forgiven themselves for anything. So there's a lot of judgment you'll look at in yourself if you look at yourself through society's eyes.
The labor, the work. Some people go for affirmations, but see that I do believe in affirmations, but here's the key on affirmations, and that is to affirm the truth. Affirm the truth. If you're broke, best thing to affirm is, I am broke. You put that up on the refrigerator where you can see it every day. It'll drive you to sign up for a class to learn a skill so that this doesn't happen anymore. Now, if that doesn't do it, reaffirm and put this up there. I'm 40 and broke. That's a lot more alarming. Something might be wrong with your philosophy, your policy, your plan, and your strategy. So, affirm, yes, but always affirm the truth. Here's what the old prophet said. The truth will set you free. Now here's the freedom of the truth. Number one, freedom of the truth. To correct old errors in judgment. That's the freedom of the truth. Because if you don't speak the truth, then you're likely not to correct the errors in judgment. If something's wrong, but you say, hey, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, how are you going to correct the errors in judgment that made it wrong? So you can't say it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, and finally it turns out to be fine. Say no. The only way to go from wrong to fine is not by affirmation. the way to go from wrong to fine is to figure out where the errors in judgment were by speaking the truth. Something's wrong here, finding out what's wrong, making the changes. Now it can go from wrong to fine. Here's a good phrase. Affirmation without discipline is the beginning of delusion. Now here's what else the truth does. First, it sets you free to correct old errors in judgment. Here's what else it does. Helps you to set up new, easy disciplines. To turn wrong into right. To turn lack into prosperity. To turn skepticism into faith. But in order to turn wrong into right, we must speak the truth. Because only the truth will set you free. Free to correct an error in judgment. Because here's the formula for failure, here's the formula for success. Formula for failure, number one, a few errors in judgment repeated every day. We call that the formula for failure. A few errors in judgment repeated every day. Now, why would you repeat an error in judgment the second day? Reason, failure doesn't occur at the end of the first day. If it did, it would be helpful. Because then you wouldn't do that anymore. But errors in judgment are so subtle because they don't usually show their results until for a while. But a few errors in judgment repeated every day, and sure enough, you're way off course. Now, here's all you got to do to turn that around. A few simple disciplines practiced every day. A few simple disciplines practiced every day starts to create success. Not at the end of the first day. The first day is the end of a new beginning. The first day. That you've started a new track. That you've started a new direction. So we must all speak the truth. So affirm the truth. Yes, affirm God is good. Yes, affirm life is full of possibilities. Yes, affirm all the truthful possibilities. But you don't need to try to trick yourself into saying something is okay when it isn't okay. Some people say every day in every way I'm getting better and better. And if that's not true, see, that we call that delusion. If it's not true, if it is true, then it's wonderful, it's fabulous. We should celebrate. But if it's not true, every day in every way I'm getting better and better. See, if that's not true, then it is an affirmation that's destructive. So just affirm the truth. The truth is I lack some skills to multiply my income by 10, which I wish to do in the future. I need to learn the skills. Affirm that you don't have the skills, so that it'll drive you to get the skills because you want to multiply your income by 10. Yes, it is true. All things are possible to the believer. It is true. Errors in judgment lead to devastation. We don't just need the truth. We need the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Here's what we don't need. Delusion. You don't need delusion in order to try to make something out of nothing. All you need is this simple little formula to imagine, because imagination is so powerful. It's the beginning of creating all things that we see. Then faith to believe it's possible. It says what? With faith, everything's possible. Without faith, nothing is possible. So that's a good study to make, creating faith to believe it's possible. But now we deposit faith and imagination into muscle, into discipline. Michelangelo was a genius, but it wasn't his genius that created this famous sculpture. But his genius was so strong and he believed in it so thoroughly that he picked up the chisel and the hammer. And it was the muscle and the chisel and the hammer that created the sculpture. And without the discipline, there would be no sculpture. But if you take your genius, if you take your ideas and your inspiration and your excitement and translate it into muscle, if you want good health, you can study every book there is. You can believe that it's possible to be healthy. But until you fall on the floor and start doing push-ups, until you jog around the block, right? Until you start working on your good health, working in labor. Labor pains, we call it. So add this to your repertoire of good ideas. New life only comes from labor. Now, some people try to create it with affirmation, but it doesn't work. New life only comes from labor. That's why we should devote most of our time to labor, because it's the miracle creator. It says 6 days labor and one-day rest. Don't get those numbers mixed up. And here's why. It isn't rest that creates the miracle. It's labor that creates the miracle. And you just go right down the list. Labor creates the miracle of a career. Labor creates the miracle of a hotel. Labor creates the miracle of a fortune. You can have plenty of miracle. You don't need to engage in delusion. Just engage in reality. Here's what's real. Imagination, supported by faith, invested in labor, works miracles. The miracle of a relationship. The labor of my language produces the miracle of sight. Being able to see things you couldn't see before. If I labor well enough with the vocabulary and language that I've got, describing the value of my own ideas translated for you. Maybe it'll help you to see something today, tomorrow, that you've never seen before. So the labor of my language, the work, and lecturing is hard work. They say 1 hour of intense lecturing is like digging ditches for 8 hours. The intensity and the energy and the vitality it takes, right? You just become almost exhausted sometimes in laboring with words to get your vocabulary out there where it touches someone's consciousness so that they can see something they've never seen before. And we call that miracle stuff. I don't know how it works. You don't need to know how it works. All you need is a simple analysis like this. But the labor takes the idea, supported by faith, translate it into labor, and it starts producing all kinds of miracle. So now you can understand that you are a miracle worker. Would a miracle worker sleep late? I doubt it. Unique thing about genius. Genius has no sense of time. It's amazing. If you could have met Michelangelo and, you get there and it's like 11 o'clock, it's like midnight. And you said to Michelangelo, isn't it a little late? And Michelangelo would say, late, what's this late? What does that mean, late? I don't understand, late. To a genius, it's not late. To the average person, it's getting late. But to a genius, it's not late. Say, well, Michelangelo, I'll meet you here in the morning and watch you get started. And you got to get there at 4 o'clock. You say, it's really early. And Michelangelo says, early? I don't understand this. What's this early? It doesn't compute early. Not to a genius. Because the genius is consumed by the finished product. And he devotes his imagination and his faith translated into muscle to produce the sculpture. Now you can do that with your health. Health is just as valuable as the sculpture that inspires the world. Your own education, your own future, your own career, your own relationships, building a hotel, creating success, making a fortune. It's all part of the same scheme of imagination, faith, supported by labor. And now, all things are possible to those that believe. Wow.
Having self-confidence is the key to unlocking your full potential and achieving your goals. It's about believing in yourself and your abilities. Even when faced with challenges or setbacks, self-confidence is not about being perfect or never making mistakes, but rather about knowing that you have the strength and resilience to overcome any obstacles that come your way. When you have self-confidence, you exhibit a sense of assurance and poise that is contagious to those around you. People are naturally drawn to those who are confident, and it can open doors to new opportunities and relationships. Whether it's in the workplace, in social situation, or in pursuing your passion, self-confidence can be the difference between success and stagnation. Building self-confidence takes time and effort, but it is a worldwide investment in yourself. Start by setting a small, achieving goals for yourself and celebrate your success along the way. Surround yourself with positive influence and people who believe in you. And let go of those who bring you down. Practice self-care and self-compassion, and remember yourself of your strengths and accomplishments. It's important to remember that self-confidence is not about comparing yourself to others or seeking validation from external source. True self-confidence comes from within, and it rooted in self-awareness, self-acceptance, and self-love. Embrace your uniqueness and individuality and recognize that you have something valuable to offer the world. As you continue to cultivate your self-confidence, you may find that you are more willing to take risks and step outside of your comfort zone. This can lead to personal growth and new experience that enrich your life and may failure as a learning opportunity and a stepping stone towards success rather than a real reflection of your worth. Self-confidence is a journey, not a destination. There will be days when you doubt yourself or face setbacks, but it's important to keep moving forward. Believe in yourself, trust in your abilities, and know that you are capable of achieving great things. With self-confidence as your foundation, the possibilities are endless.